Good evening, everybody. What a talent. If we can't make it with this audience, Peter, then I'm lost. And we will make it, no doubt about that. Just over a year ago, so not that long ago, I set out for electronics a vision and a request. A vision of a sector that leads the world, boosts our economy, and helps our society. And a request for us to work together in Europe. Work together, yes, to cooperate, align efforts, and improve our strengths. And for the sector to connect with the markets that demand its innovations and with the supply of skilled labor so that your great ideas can benefit every citizen. And since then, we have come a long way. You, the European industry, came forward with a common vision, and I will never forget that session in München. That was fascinating, for everybody was kind and polite, real gentlemen, so to say. I think only one or two ladies, but that was it. And I was tempting, and I was just asking for not only cooperation, but for real steps forward. And at the end of the session, I asked my people, did you see the body language? For that sometimes is quite important. And they were looking at me and they were saying, well, perhaps another impression than you have. And I said, we are going with them and they are going with us. And my people, and with a lot of experience, said, wait and see. But civil servants are always very careful. And politicians, as you are aware, are a bit more tempted to say, come on, there is no time to lose. And here we are. You made strong commitments by 2020 to invest 100 billion euros. And by the way, help create 250,000 jobs. And that is fascinating. For in the college, the weekly meeting of the European Commission, we are, of course, often discussing how to push the economic growth, how to push growth of jobs. This morning again, talking about Olli Rehn's report of all the countries. And it is, of course, a very challenging job. But with people like you, with commitments, I think, well, of course we are not there. I've learned you shouldn't praise the day before it's evening, and it is not yet evening, but at that time I had the feeling, a bit of a Christmas present and a bit of opportunities to go together. And you also have proposed a project for 5 major pilot lines under our joint undertaking, ENIAC, altogether worth an estimated 730 million euros. Well, that is a compliment to all those involved in making this happen, including in particular member states. And today, you will see a short video on those 5 projects. For me, those shows visibly what we can achieve if we join forces behind a common goal. And what's really important for me is ambition and leadership. And you have both. It's just as important as the details of this or that public funding program, if not more so. I know some of the founding fathers are here today, and thank you for your vision and thank you for your engagement. Let's build on this and go to the next level, for then we are talking. And that's why, just last week, the Commission put forward its new industrial strategy for European micro and nano electronics. And it is a strategy, and I'm proud of that, with a very clear goal. I always say I can explain it when I'm mentioning that it is clear. I can mention and explain it to my neighbor. To reverse the declining market share of the European semiconductor industry. To double our chip production by 2020 to around 1/5 of the global total, overtaking the United States. Well, that is challenging, isn't it? And above all, to create jobs for people in Europe, the younger generation, to give them hope and not accepting that there are not enough jobs for them to fill in. I can't sit by and watch our young people face such horrific unemployment. If we are talking about certain member states with a percentage of more than 60% of the younger generation unemployed, that's absolutely unacceptable. For then you are talking of a lost generation with all the consequences. Not when I see the sectors, ladies and gentlemen, that could provide such powerful growth and stimulate and create tomorrow's jobs. The fact is that we need to change, just have a different mindset. We have many strengths, but while with the global competition is tough, the stakes are high, this is about every part of our economy. And if we don't get our act together, any future investments risk being less effective and achieving lower impact. I don't want to see that money going down the drain, not at all. So our strategy is built around 4 pillars. Number 1, we need critical mass in our investment. We can carry on spending the money we do, but it won't have the same effect if it's uncoordinated, unaligned, subscale. Using every instrument at our disposal, we can assemble a significant investment in research, in development, and in innovation. And 10 billion euros over the funding period, half from governments and half from industry. Not a plan to subsidize industry, but a way to work together. Second, we need a balanced approach for our support, looking at further miniaturization, at more, and that is with and where tomorrow's market shares lie. And we need to be part of that. But we should also look at extending functionality, doing more than more, at smart embedded systems that see, hear, and act, that could be at the heart of new products and services. And let's not forget, please let's not forget, advanced manufacturing. 450 millimeter wafers will be crucial for the materials and equipment industries. In short, there are 3 goals: to make ships faster, to make ships smarter, and to make them cheaper. Well, that's a very clear line. By the way, we need to do all 3. So keep it faster, smarter, and cheaper. Third, we should focus on our strengths. We already have world-class specialized research organizations here in Europe. Let's reinforce them. And there's a whole value chain. Let's connect and let's collaborate. We have unique capabilities in areas like automotive, energy, industrial automation. Let's make sure that they can capture the next opportunity. And if the electronic sector can be in the lead, if it can drive and be driven by innovation, if others can benefit from those new ideas, then the benefit won't be for the lucky few, but for all of Europe. And of course, smaller companies can't build state-of-the-art production facilities on their own. But equally, no large company can go it alone either. They all depend on extensive industrial ecosystems built up over many years. So this industry, this strategy is about working together across the chain, along the innovation path, with all different disciplines, with stakeholders, large and small, industrial and academic, and fourth, of course, we need a global level playing field. A subsidy race would just mean dead weight losses. These days, we can't afford that. But let's not be naive. This sector is highly interdependent. If some actors invest big, like in new chip production facilities, that has an impact on others in the chain, no doubt. If they fail to invest, that has an impact too. So let me be very clear. In the absence of common global rules, Europe needs to use all necessary instruments to ensure we can make those big investments. So that is quite clear and short, the strategy. But now, we need to focus on the next steps. In mid-July, we will propose an ambitious joint technology initiative on electronic components and systems, EXCEL for short. The proposal will be for an industry-led public-private partnership with the EU and with member states, playing an essential role on funding and decisions. And it will cover the subject areas of the existing GTIs, ENIAC and Artemis, which launched their last new projects this year. It will be simpler, it will be more integrated, and it will be a strong instrument to deliver European public support for research, development and innovation based on agreed European goals. That is not more Europe for its own sake. I don't believe in that. But I do believe in more Europe. And that means more value for all of us. And I know today there are many here in the audience from not just industry, but from governments and parliaments too. And we can only all deliver, we can only all benefit if all of you are on board. Because I want us to have an industrial roadmap that enjoys broad support. And I want it to contain clear and concrete ideas that we can implement. And I want it in place by the end of this year. We already have some experience. We have experience with each other, we have experience with the material, so to say. It could and should happen. The existing GTIs and ENIAC pilot lines have shown us what we can achieve in research, development and innovation. And if we join forces and reach critical mass, they have shown us that regions and centers of excellence can all attract more private investment if we work together. They have shown us the way forward, something we should repeat and build on. So let's imagine where we want to be in 2020 and which areas we can lead the world in. And let's agree how to get there, how to work together, how to build our skill base, how to reach out to every startup and small business, to every economic sector and social challenge. And let's actually put it into effect. And I will do, I promise you, what I can do. And I will work to get R&D funding right at EU level and beyond. And I will continue to push all other stakeholders to play their part. And don't exclude yourself, I'm including you. Stakeholders from industry, from the regional authorities, from the national authorities. Your engagement here tonight is a good sign, but there is a lot more to do. So let's go out there and let's just do it. And I propose to meet again in a few months, once the new GTI is agreed and ready to go, to compare notes on overall progress, because together we can have electronics that are faster and smarter and cheaper. Electronics that are made in Europe. Electronics that deliver for all of us and for every European citizen. If we could just communicate that policy, that strategy together, then we can indeed give a positive signal to a very worthwhile Europe and also in this field. Let's go for this goal and let's make it happen. Thank you.
So if I understand well, I have to be fast, strong, and not so cheap. Okay?
I am sure you're able to do all those three things with elegance.
I'll try. So, dear Nelly Kroes, dear Mrs. Vice President, dear all, I say 5 lines. First of all, I would like to warmly thank Vice President Kroes for organizing this event and for outlining such an extensive strategy aiming at fostering competitiveness of micro and nanoelectronic industry in Europe. And thank you, especially for your message of hope and of fighting spirit in Europe, because when we travel around the world, we too often hear of declining Europe, which is not true. We have to prove it is not true. So this is a very important event. This is exactly the vision we are expecting from the European Commission in the current critical economic situation of Europe. Make Europe the place for the future of micro and nano electronics industry. France's priority in this context is to focus European and national policies and funding on the restoration of economic growth and the creation of jobs. This is a priority that the French President, François Hollande, has pursued in the multi-annual financial framework negotiations on the 8th of last February. Today, in advanced countries, there is no way to stimulate growth without a strong innovation policy. Improving the economic impact of R&D is a key concern for France and Europe. This defines priorities of the French research and innovation policy I have integrated within the France-Europe 2022 strategic agenda I have been launching with a new law, which is being voted, not by everyone, but by a majority, which is enough currently in France. We particularly need to concentrate our efforts on economic sectors which are knowledge intensive, with strong growth potential, dealing with societal challenges so that everyone can understand our fight and our efforts. Micro and nano electronics is one of these key sectors deserving a strong and coherent European industrial strategy, mobilizing all relevant EU policies, as outlined in the communication on key enabling technologies proposed by Vice President Tajani in June last year. KETs are required for the development of applications, products and services in so many areas and applications: transportation, energy, health, security, communication. Mastering and deploying KETs in the European Union is critical to strengthening Europe's capacity for industrial innovation and growth. In the KETs domain, the EU is now facing growing competition from both developed and emerging economies, in particular from North America and East Asia. Our responsibility is to ensure that Europe to gain leadership in development and deployment of these technologies and to establish altogether the most favorable conditions for attracting private investments and strengthen industrial competitiveness. Almost 1 year after the announcement of the EU strategy on KETs, time has come to look at the first results. Regarding support to R&D in KETs, encouraging actions have been launched, like the ENIAC pilot lines, that should be pursued with H 2020. However, we still need to secure an appropriate budget for KETs in H 2022 for R&D, but also for pilot lines and demonstrators. We also need a coherent work program for all KETs and multi-KETs actions to be adopted, overcoming the obsolete distinctions among areas of FP7. Finally, we still need to have a clearer picture on how EU national, regional funding sources will be combined in support to large-scale multi-KET projects. As recalled by you, Mrs. Kroes, competition policy matters to properly support KETs must progress. Here we need the Commission to propose the adaptation of state aid rules to the specific role played by KETs in Europe competitiveness. Dear Mrs. Vice President, the communication you have proposed to the College of Commissioners is a highly valuable report completing the digital agenda for Europe with the necessary industrial strategy on micro and nanoelectronic components and systems. On the R&D side, keywords are public-private research agenda, cluster policy, coordination of resources and coordination of national strategies. I think that those requirements are fully met with the proposal of a new joint technology initiative you've just announced a few minutes ago. So I fully agree we need to build on existing strengths to network and enhance our European clusters like Dresden, Grenoble, Eindhoven, Leuven, hosting leading-edge research and production centers. This is a condition to make Europe a major player in micro and nanoelectronics. Secondly, merging ENIAC and Artemis definitely goes into the right direction. From a technology point of view, it's difficult to design components without embedded systems. In addition, a single JTI will be more efficient regarding administrative expenditures. And we have to focus on R&D and added value actions. Thirdly, a JTI is the right instrument for coordinating our European and national resources and strategies, avoiding overlaps and competing priorities and filling the gaps. We have been able to turn ENIAC into a success some years ago by adopting selection rules, allowing every funding authority to present its priority on an equal footing. This has led to an essential dialogue and modus operandi between Commission and Member States that we are keen to pursue. Of course, close coordination with Eureka activities funded by Member States has to be pursued. The KETS high-level expert group, chaired by Jean Terme, Director of Technological Research at CA, has identified major difficulties in Europe to translate science results into marketable products, crossing the internationally recognized Valley of Death. I have heard a few days ago that there is, before the Valley of Death, there is a ditch of death. So if maybe someone can explain me what is a ditch of death, but there are too much death anyway, and we have to fight for life. In this context, the R&D strategy needs to be extended and integrated into a sound industrial policy. H 2020 must be the framework for a coherent and strategic approach, notably to translate research into innovative products and services based on market needs and the requirements of the societal challenges. Cooperation among European industry is necessary if we want to compete with other world powers. Your initiative of an Airbus of chips is then highly relevant. For that sake, we should build on the effort of industry to ensure a full coverage of the market of components and systems through the consortium, NE2 notably. Your invitation made to industrial actors to participate in the elaboration of a strategic roadmap is also a step forward. I also welcome your global approach encompassing access to capital investment, support to pilot lines and demonstrators, development of training programs. We also need to offer the possibility to industrial actors to compete on an equal footing with enterprises established in third countries and sometimes benefiting of significant public investments. The shape of industries worldwide will be transformed over the next decade thanks to the fast development of KETS and in particular micro and nano electronics. We need to solve the great global and societal challenges of our time and stimulate competitiveness and generate jobs for the youth generation, for the young generation. You're right to speak of somewhat a lost generation, and it's unacceptable. I completely agree with your words. So we have to be back with growth and wealth in the European economy. Let's build the EU's future strategy for micro and nano electronics as a powerful and new policy to tackle these challenges. I fully agree with your words. I couldn't say better. Let's do it. Let's act. And thank you very much for your energy, for your cooperation, and for this action in favor of Europe and of the young, in favor of the young generation. Thank you.
Dear Vice President Cruz, dear colleagues, ministers, ladies and gentlemen, first of all, thank you for the invitation and for the opportunity to present the perspective of Saxony. I will do this by looking to the United States at the end of my remarks, and now at the beginning by saying, as representatives of European countries and regions, we should not only ask, what can cats do for our countries, but what can our countries do for cats? Why, ladies and gentlemen, does Europe need cats? Answering this question, we need a common understanding, and I think we share a common understanding of cats. Like the high-level group and the European Commission, we understand cats as a cross-cutting technology. This makes cats crucial for all sectors of European industry. Moreover, cat-based products and services contribute substantially to solving societal challenges such as mobility, communication, or energy efficiency. And we share a common understanding of the role of micro and nanoelectronics. Micro and nanoelectronics are the most mature cat. It is a technological core of industrial development, for example, in the automotive or in the mechanical engineering sector. Europe has still a strong international position, but Vice President Cruz, you was speaking about the declining market share of Europe, and we are losing ground, and we have to change it. We share a common understanding of competition. The ability to master the cats is prerequisite for the competitiveness of European industry. The competition we are facing is not European, but global. This inevitably leads to the conclusion that our actions have to be not only regional, not only national, but European. Therefore, we welcome the Commission's intention to combine efforts on all levels. The Silicon Europe cluster for energy-efficient ICT is an excellent example what a promising cooperation of European partners can look like. Having so much in common, ladies and gentlemen, I'm coming back to the question from the beginning. What can our countries do for cats? What can our regions, our countries, and Europe do to stay competitive? First of all, we need a level playing field on a global level. But unfortunately, we all know there is no such thing as fair trade on the field of micro and nanoelectronics. And we are all not very optimistic this might change soon. Combining and coordinating our European efforts is an important part of the solution. Europe has to speak with one voice. And I think I do not have to explain that Europe includes the German federal government too. The high-level group identified the central task of bridging the valley of death. We fully agree that supporting pilot lines and industrial production, the second and third pillar, is crucial. Saxony provided the GD industry with suggestions of a set of criteria for European support of pilot lines, and we have presented 4 prototypes for CATS pilot lines. Moreover, the Saxon government proposed and the parliament decided to prepare a Saxon CATS box corresponding to the CATS box in Horizon 2020 in the Saxon budget to support smaller CATS pilot lines on regional scale. As you can see, Saxony substantially contributes to the support of CATS. Clearly, the European CATS strategy is an important step forward. But unfortunately, it's not fully fledged in the sense the high-level group proposed as a state aid part is missing. Facing international CATS competition, Europe has to be competitive as far as state aid is concerned. Saxony has commissioned a legal option on the introduction of a comprehensive matching clause. As I pointed out, how much we have in common, projects of European interests may be another promising way. What Europe needs is a state aid system which can cope with the dynamic development of micro and nanoelectronics technologies worldwide. We welcome the fact that the Commission has decided to develop a European strategy for micro and nanoelectronics. This illustrates the importance of micro and nanoelectronics for the European industry. The strategy emphasized that a strong Europe needs a strong second and a strong third pillar of the bridge over the valley of death. Let us build this bridge together. I firmly believe that simplified funding structures, as mentioned in the strategy, will be the key for the success of this strategy. Whether a region like Saxony will be able to participate in this new joint technology initiative announced in the strategy will be strongly depend on the possibility to use structural funds for co-financing. At the end of my remarks, ladies and gentlemen, I'm coming back to the US, the state of New York, the CNSE in Albany. Saxon Prime Minister Tillich and State Secretary Fiedler just came back from the visit of the pilot line at the College of Nanoscale Science and Engineering in Albany. I know, Vice President Cruz, you have visited it too. The Saxons were deeply impressed by the sheer size of the pilot line, the amount of state aid that went into it, as well as the vision behind it. I think it will be helpful for opinion making if the members of the federal government will visit Albany too. They will see that micro and nanoelectronic companies experience there far better government support than in Europe. The US and of course Asia know very well why they are determined to support CATS. Maybe, ladies and gentlemen, Uncle Sam shows us that Europe urgently needs a fully fledged SAM, a fully fledged state aid modernization. Thank you for your attention.
So, dear Vice President, dear colleagues, ministers, ladies and gentlemen, I will focus here on three main items: how to leverage EU, national and regional resources to implement an industrial agenda, the role of member states and regions, the balance between design and manufacturing. In order to address in the most effective and concrete way these issues, I believe it is appropriate to discuss separately the two tracks of technological development that are conventionally recognized in the electronics arena: more Moore and more than Moore. At present, the more Moore electronics development track is dominant both in economic terms and in terms of direct and indirect employment figures. New products and industry development are mainly driven by increasing miniaturization here, and challenges relate to high performance, low power consumption, high reliability, and high manufacturability of the devices and circuits to be implemented, and on the reduction of the related manufacturing costs, both recurring and non-recurring. Therefore, the choice between an emphasis on design or on manufacturing is important, and it actually represents a strategic decision that must be taken. Furthermore, it is known that large investments are required to establish such manufacturing fabs, and that only a small number of these is going to be economically sustainable at global level. So these considerations may seem to make design a more desirable, lower risk option. I wish to strongly oppose this idea, and I want to emphasize the strategic enabling role of manufacturing, especially for cross-enabling technologies as nanoelectronics. Europe cannot depend on suppliers located outside its borders. Local manufacturing facilities must be sustained and supported, and this should be done via a truly continental effort. Primarily, this should happen by leveraging the leading-edge European technology clusters existing today, even if many of these resources happen to be located in member states currently hit by a severe economic crisis. This situation brings us to another key issue. The impact that member states and regions can have here is very limited, and the peculiar dimension of this effort will require not only a European-level investment, but even aggressive fiscal choices. Private stakeholders and capital investors must also enter into the equation more prominently, as at the level of private investments of our high-tech industry is not satisfactory at present in Europe, and it does not meet the standards we see in our direct competitors. A true challenge is in front of us in the next decade: ensure business growth and jobs along Europe's high-tech supply chain. Nanoelectronics is a strategic industry and a vital market. Europe cannot give up on it, as nanoelectronics technologies are drivers here and indeed key enabling assets for the global European wealth. In fact, several other key industrial sectors do depend on nanoelectronics products: telecom, aerospace, automotive, security, health, energy, and more. And overall electronics products and services are worth at least 10% of the European GDP. For what concerns system design, instead, member states and regions can play a significant role. Fabless enterprises are much less demanding in terms of investment, can be located anywhere the know-how is present, and can be successful if smart policies are put in place, even at scale that is compatible with regional efforts. Not surprisingly, and partly as a consequence of this characteristic size, policy provisions must not underestimate the need to ensure adequate internationalization and good networking with potential end users, automotive, consumer electronics, and similar. In this respect, availability of wideband communication infrastructure is a must, and regional authorities will play a central role. Multifunctional system on a chip, heterogeneous integration, MEMS, compound semiconductors, new materials, and building blocks promise opportunities and performance based on breakthrough developments. At present, more technologies are leading major European semiconductor companies and a number of rapidly growing SMEs to excellent results in a fast-growing market, which will grow and expand even faster in the near future. Our vigorous research community in this sector can be at the forefront on a global scale, and Horizon 2020 will support this challenge. I would like to mention in particular the Future and Emerging Technology and the JTI programs in the last FP as example of success. These formats should not be discontinued, as they represent a strategy of EC member states to sustain and push forward the continued development of new ideas able to address present and future in key enabling technologies. But we can and we must do better in the future. It is through Horizon 2020 that Europe can help fostering innovation in the nanoelectronics sector and in general in the CAT through a combined effort with member states and regional governments to promote a true smart specialization policy. This will be the main challenge for us, to combine member states and regional government strategies in order to have a global strategy. I underline that consolidation of existing technology clusters should be paired by an effort directed at identification and promotion of new excellence centers in order to make sure that we tap all the existing European resources in terms of competence and innovation potential. I believe that only in this way we can enable Europe to compete with fair chances of success at the global level. National and regional programs should be designed to support the development of these new concepts via additional schemes capable of tightening the link between industry, research organizations, and SMEs. In particular, the role of SMEs, existing or newly started, should be promoted as the primary mean for exploiting innovation for niche markets, as well as key parts of the entire supply chain. Novelty is important, and the landscape of innovators must be flexible to maximize continental success on the global arena. So thank you for your attention.
Thank you. Thank you for taking the initiative for this session. I think it is very good to discuss the plans even further and initiatives that have been put into action. And I think we can hardly overestimate the importance of micro and nano electronics sector for Europe's economy. The sector is significant. Researchers in the field are working on a challenging interface of science and engineering. And as a key enabling technology, it is also an abundant source of innovation in all industry sectors. It delivers solutions for societal challenges, a large variety of market applications, but it also creates a lot of jobs. And I totally agree on your concern. We need jobs in Europe. I am convinced that Europe has very strong assets. Over many years, the unique European collaboration in the field of research and innovation has contributed to the development of various major ecosystems. The Dresden area in Germany, the areas around Grenoble in France, and the triangle Veldhoven, Eindhoven, and Leuven in Belgium and the Netherlands. And these ecosystems are powerful clusters of companies, universities, and other public research institutes. All stakeholders are mutually linked and are also connected then to even smaller and more specialized clusters everywhere in Europe. Please allow me some chauvinism about the results of this European strategy. The impressive success of the world-leading photolithography company ASML, based in Veldhoven, is probably one of the best examples. ASML brings together the most recent knowledge for companies and public research institutes in their highly advanced machines. And just this week, they announced to set up a joint institute for nanolithography. It's difficult wordings in this sector. Together with 2 Dutch universities and our main research funding organization, NWO. And together they are going to conduct fundamental and applied research to unlock innovation in the field of semiconductors. And I think it's a good example where research and academia on the one hand and the industry and economy on the other hand find one another. At the same time, there is serious reason for concern. For several years, the position of some major European players has weakened compared to their global competitors, and the question is, how come? I believe that continuous technological renewal is essential. Being in the forefront of research and technology development clearly pays off, but it requires investment. Adding to the private and already existing public investments, Horizon 2020 will be our asset for increasing joint activities in research and development in the coming years. But it's not only about investment. we should organize our actions in a more effective way. And that means we should tackle the existing fragmentation in programs on national, intergovernmental, and the European level and develop a more coherent mix of instruments. And there lies a heavy responsibility also for the individual member states to find common ground and to strive for action in a European community. Also, we have to attract more talents, more young people to engineering and technology. And that's not only because those sectors have hundreds of thousands of unfilled vacancies today, but also because engineering and technology are a crucial part of our everyday life, from ICT to electronics and from gaming and fashion to healthcare. It all has to do with how to find a skilled labor force. Let me give you an example, because I think the individual member states, individual countries in Europe can do a good job themselves. In the Netherlands, just 2 weeks ago, the Dutch government signed an engineering and technology pact together with all relevant stakeholders from education and industry. The Engineering and Technology Pact is a joint commitment from all parties involved to deliver more engineers, technologists and scientists by 2020. And in doing so, we have to be practical. Less talk, more action. So concrete actions, getting more internships, getting more grants for students, more scholarships, more financing of individual companies if it comes to school equipments, and make sure that our students can actually work with the highest technologies in their schools. Last but not least, there continues to be a need for pooling initiatives and resources to build projects of common European interest, as was recently stated by Vice President Kroes. Continuation of the existing joint technology initiatives ENIAC and Artemis is in a new single setting under Horizon 2020 can be a very effective tool to make this work. And like its predecessors, this new single GTI will be a partnership operated and funded jointly by three parties: industry, European Commission, and the member states. And if the roles and responsibilities of all partners in the GTI are respected, I believe it will really be a joint undertaking. Madam Vice President, ladies and gentlemen, I welcome the strategy document presented today by Vice President Kroes, and I am sure it will trigger a both fundamental and fruitful debate between all stakeholders present here today: the EC, member states, major industrial players, and public research institutions. Only together we can make this work, and we can beat our Asian and American competitors. In my football team, my friends would say, let's kick ass, but that's probably not appropriate for this setting here. So as I would say, let's go for it. Thank you.
Dear Vice President, dear Madam Nelly Kroes, dear colleagues, ministers, ladies and gentlemen, I've understood that I am the last speaker.
No, you're
not yet. Okay, okay.
But we're very glad that you're here right now.
Okay. First of all, let me thank the Vice President for this initiative. It's for us a great opportunity to be here and to have in 5 minutes some visions and some support for this initiative. Ladies and gentlemen, work on the smallest possible level with the largest possible effect. That is what nanoelectronics means for Europe and, in fact, the world. Nanoelectronics is an engine of innovation. It has totally changed the way we interact with friends and colleagues. It drives the innovation in the automotive sector, and it is a crucial part of our plans to implement the smart energy grid. Moreover, this industry can play a vital role in tackling the great healthcare challenge we face because of aging of our population. Nanoelectronics can and must be part of the solution. New applications will combine the expertise in ICT and semiconductor technologies with biotech and medicine. This way, ladies and gentlemen, we can create a preventive, predictive, and participative healthcare system. A healthcare system that will increase welfare and well-being for everyone. In Belgium, and in particular in my region of Flanders, we have an impressive concentration of companies and research institutes that do cutting-edge work in these areas. On semiconductor, Option, Ansem, Melexis, E6 and CMOSIS are just a few of a dozen of innovative companies that are active in Flanders. But perhaps the best example of the path we must follow is provided by IMEC. And the CEO, Luc van den Hove, will later on be a participant of the debate. This company started in 1984 as a spin-over at the University of Leuven. In the past 3 decades, it has become a world leader in semiconductor research, attracting top companies from all over the world to conduct some of their most advanced research. IMEC, ladies and gentlemen, Vice President, works with all global leaders, and in doing so, it owns or co-owns nearly all of the intellectual property from this research. IMEC has created a wealth of innovation built up through worldwide financing and available for Europe. However, ladies and gentlemen, innovation alone will not create growth. We need a viable business model that will allow the European nano and microelectronics industry to be competitive in the global market. A bold vision and ambition, a true European plan for nanotechnology is necessary, and you have, Madam Vice President, underscored that very clearly. I firmly believe that this plan has to involve the European member states, but also the regions. That's also what you have said. Because the regional level is the right level to work on tomorrow's industry. Within Flanders, we have therefore created the new industrial policy. Through this smart specialization strategy, we want to transform the industrial fiber. We stimulate industry to innovate and to become greener, more creative and more competitive. This innovation will lead to clustered factories of the future. The nanotechnology sector is a key industry in this plan. This is why we have put forward a proposal of Nano for Health in the framework of DG Industries' Emerging Industries Call. Flanders has the right know-how to lead in this field. We have a unique R&D background in both nanoelectronics with IMEC and biotechnology with the Flemish Institute for Biotechnology. We have clustered knowledge in both areas through the DSP Valley and Flanders Bio. And we have one of the most dense clinic lab activities in the world. Ladies and gentlemen, by promoting our Nano for Health agenda, we want to align ourselves with like-minded partners around Europe. Also, my colleagues have underscored the priority and the necessity to work together at the European level. Because the biggest challenge we face today is not in creating innovation clusters within our own regions or member states, it is in creating true European clusters. Madam Vice President, ladies and gentlemen, nanoelectronics have the potential to make true difference in tackling today's social challenges. But But if we want to succeed, we need action on all levels. Regional, national, European policymakers have to team up with companies and research institutes to create a European vision for this industry. We have to assure our European presence and competence in a world that will have the 450 millimeter manufacturing and less than 10 nanometer devices. We need an industry that delivers the 52 billion euro investment in research, development and innovation they have put forward in their position paper. We need a wide European web of collaborative research and cross-border funding. We indeed need adequate governmental support. Ladies and gentlemen, my 5 minutes are gone. This is how we can turn this opportunity in a real success. That is how we keep Europe competitive in a changing world. That is how nanoelectronics can and will make the difference. I thank you once again, Madam Vice President. I thank also my colleagues and everyone here that we can and must work together to make this a big success. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Meneer Peters.